No man was created to stand alone. From the beginning of time, everything in creation was designed to function in connection. Rivers flow into oceans, trees depend on the soil, and even the stars align in constellations. When a man isolates himself, he steps outside of this divine order, cutting off the very relationships that were meant to help him grow. A man with no friends may believe he is protecting himself, but in reality, he is limiting himself. He may have gifts, but without others to refine and challenge him, those gifts remain underdeveloped. He may have vision, but without wise counsel, that vision lacks clarity. No one reaches their full potential in a vacuum. Greatness is cultivated through relationships, through the exchange of ideas, through the sharpening of minds and spirits. The world's most successful individuals did not achieve greatness in isolation. Every strong leader had a mentor. Every skilled craftsman had a teacher, and every innovator had collaborators. Even the strongest warriors fought alongside comrades. Why? Because potential is never realized alone. A man who tries to carry his destiny by himself will find it too heavy to bear. The danger of isolation is that it creates a false sense of sufficiency. A man may believe he is strong enough to stand alone, but strength is not tested in solitude. It is tested in the challenges and conflicts that relationships bring. Without interaction, there is no friction. Without friction, there is no sharpening. And without sharpening, there is no growth. A man who limits his relationships limits his exposure to wisdom. He surrounds himself only with his own thoughts, never realizing how much he does not know. He walks in circles of his own making, mistaking movement for progress. But true progress requires collaboration. It requires input, correction, and refinement. No one reaches their full height standing alone. To maximize potential, a man must be willing to engage with others, to embrace accountability, and to recognize that his success is not a solo journey. No man becomes great by himself. Just as a blade must be sharpened against another blade to maintain its edge, so must a man be sharpened by the relationships in his life. Without friction, there is no refinement. Without challenges, there is no growth. A sword left untouched will grow dull over time, losing its effectiveness. And in the same way, a man who walks alone will become stagnant, ineffective, and unaware of his own weaknesses. Growth does not happen in comfort. The process of sharpening is not always pleasant. It involves pressure, resistance, and sometimes even discomfort, but it is necessary. A man who surrounds himself with wise, disciplined, and purpose-driven individuals will be forced to rise to their level. He will be challenged in his thinking, strengthened in his character, and pushed beyond his limitations. But here's the key. Not all iron sharpens iron. A dull blade cannot sharpen another dull blade. A weak man cannot strengthen another weak man. The company you keep determines the sharpness of your life. If a man surrounds himself with fools, he will dull his own edge. If he walks with those who have no vision, he too will lose sight of his purpose. But if he aligns himself with strong, focused, and disciplined individuals, he will find himself sharpened, refined, and ready for battle. Correction is also a part of sharpening. A man who refuses correction is like a sword that resists the whetstone. It remains blunt and ineffective. True friends will not just encourage, they will correct. They will not just praise, they will challenge. And a wise man does not run from this process. He embraces it, because he knows that sharpening today prepares him for victory tomorrow. No one becomes their best self in isolation. A blade must be sharpened before it can cut. A man must be refined before he can be effective. And the only way to reach full potential is to embrace the relationships that will challenge, stretch, and sharpen him into the person he was created to be. A man who chooses to walk alone may believe he is protecting himself, but in reality, he is limiting himself. He may think that avoiding relationships will keep him from pain, disappointment, or betrayal, but in doing so, he also shuts the door to growth, wisdom, and opportunity. No one reaches their full potential in isolation. Growth is a product of interaction, learning, and being challenged by others. Without relationships, a man remains confined to his own perspective, unable to see beyond his personal experiences. Challenges and conflicts within relationships are not obstacles. They are opportunities. Iron sharpens iron through friction, and in the same way, personal growth is sharpened through the lessons that come from dealing with people. A man who isolates himself avoids disagreements, but he also avoids learning patience, humility, and understanding. He may avoid criticism, but he also avoids correction. He may avoid betrayal, but he also avoids the loyalty and support that true friendships provide. Greatness is not built in solitude. Every strong leader, visionary, or pioneer had to walk with others in order to refine their ideas, develop their character, and sharpen their skills. A man without relationships limits his exposure to wisdom, innovation, and new perspectives. He remains trapped in his own way of thinking, never realizing how much more he could become if he were willing to learn from others. Relationships also provide accountability. A man left alone is answerable only to himself. And without accountability, he risks becoming complacent, undisciplined, and misguided. Those who walk with wise and strong individuals are constantly reminded to aim higher, push further, and refine their purpose. But those who avoid relationships often find themselves stuck in cycles of stagnation, repeating the same mistakes with no one to correct or guide them. True growth requires connection. Just as a seed needs soil, water, and sunlight to grow, a man needs relationships that nurture, challenge, and strengthen him. Avoiding relationships may provide temporary comfort, but it ultimately leads to a life of limitation. The path to purpose is never walked alone. A man who isolates himself may feel safe, but he will never reach his full potential. A man is not defined by the number of people around him, but by the depth of the relationships he cultivates. Friendship is not a game of numbers. It is a matter of value. Many people believe that having a large circle equates to influence, success, or security. But the truth is, a crowd does not equal connection. A man can be surrounded by many and still be alone. True friendship is not about how many people know your name, but about how many people truly know your heart. One strong, trustworthy friend is more valuable than 1,000 acquaintances. A loyal companion will stand with you in adversity, speak truth when you need correction, and celebrate your victories with a sincere heart. A man who seeks many friends for status or validation will often find himself surrounded by shallow connections, people who are present when times are good but absent when challenges arise. But a man who seeks meaningful relationships will build a foundation of trust, wisdom, and accountability that sustains him through every season of life. Not all friendships sharpen, some dull. A man must be discerning about the company he keeps, because the quality of his relationships will determine the quality of his life. The wrong connections can drain energy, distort vision, and delay progress. But the right relationships will challenge, strengthen, and propel a man toward his destiny. It is better to have a few voices of wisdom than a multitude of empty echoes. Friendship is not about convenience, it is about commitment. It requires intentionality, trust, and reciprocity. A true friend is not just someone who enjoys your presence, but someone invested in your growth. They do not just tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to hear. They do not disappear in difficulty. They stand firm when life becomes challenging. A man does not need everyone. He needs the right ones. Instead of seeking to be popular, he should seek to be purposeful. Instead of pursuing many friendships, he should invest in meaningful ones. Because in the end, it is not the number of people in his life that will define his journey, but the depth and strength of those who truly walk with him. A man's relationships are a reflection of who he is. The people who surround him are not there by accident. They are drawn to the qualities he carries. Many desire strong, loyal, and wise friends, yet they fail to realize that they must first become strong, loyal, and wise themselves. A man does not attract what he wants, he attracts what he is. If he seeks trustworthy companions, he must first be trustworthy. If he desires people of integrity, he must first walk in integrity. If he wants friends who push him toward greatness, he must first be willing to grow. Too often, people search for the right relationships while neglecting their own personal development. They seek wisdom in others, but do not cultivate wisdom within themselves. They look for encouragement, but do not offer it. They desire respect, but do not give it. The law of attraction is not based on words, but on character. A man cannot expect to be surrounded by people who challenge and uplift him if he is unwilling to challenge and uplift himself. Before seeking the right people, a man must ask himself, am I the kind of person I would want to befriend? Do I exemplify the values I expect in others? Relationships are built on reciprocity. And if a man does not embody the qualities he desires in others, he will either attract the wrong people or drive away the right ones. Growth is the magnet that draws the right relationships. When a man commits to developing his character, strengthening his discipline, and refining his vision, he naturally begins to attract those who align with that pursuit. Just as iron sharpens iron, men of purpose are drawn to those who walk in purpose. A man who is lazy, dishonest, or complacent will find himself surrounded by those who reflect those same traits. But a man who pursues excellence will find